from earthly things, a recollection of those realities, either for those which had but a brief view of them at the earlier time, or for those which, after falling to earth, were so unfortunate as to be turned towards unrighteousness through some evil communication, and to have forgotten the holy sights which they once saw. What's the reason we turn away from them? Evil communications. That's what he says. Hey, look here. The word evil, of course, isn't there. It's bad communication. Right? He's going to say this is the real problem, that we pick up certain attitudes and certain beliefs, and it's these beliefs that inhibit us from experiencing this more fully. We get caught here into things. Or we get into considering other things more important than these experiences. So let me jump back into the text. Few then are left which retain an adequate recollection of them. But these, now we're going back on earth now, but these who can recall those past scenes, when they see any likeness of the things of that other world, are stricken with amazement and can no longer control themselves. And they don't understand their condition because they do not clearly perceive. Now, in the earthly copies of justice, temperance, and these other ideals, which are precious to souls, there is no light, but only a few approaching the images through the darkling organs of the sense behold in them the nature of that which they imitate. And they do this with difficulty. Right? That's what we're getting now. See, I'm trying to bring you into it. Right? Because when I'm addressing this to you, right, but only a few approaching the images. These are images of these things. Each one of the things you regard as beautiful, each of the occasions of keeping your cool, of righteousness or goodness, they're imitations of the pure form, and therefore we have difficulty grasping them. But in former times, they saw with beauty, shining and brightness, when with a blessed company we followed in the train of Zeus or others. Now, I should mention that the 11 orders of the gods, there are 12, Zeus is one, but the 11 others, each one is a god, and therefore each person after their death is going to pursue the ideal which they have been pursuing in life. Therefore people may follow Apollo, or they may follow Ares if they're warlike. These are all archetypes. You follow your archetype, whatever archetype you've been introduced to and you find akin to, that's the one you're going to follow in the afterworld of the next experience. And each one of these can lead you to a certain height, but the Zeus, which is the highest of course, leads most directly and swiftly up into the higher realities. But at that former time they saw beauty shining in brightness when with a blessed company we following in the train of Zeus and others of some other god, they saw the blessed sight and vision and were initiated into what is rightly called the most blessed of mysteries, which we celebrated in a state of perfection when we were without experience of the evils which awaited us at the time. Right? Okay, what do we then? We become initiates to the sight of perfect and simple and calm and happy apparitions, which we saw in the pure light, being ourselves pure and not entombed, which is what he calls the body. So, this is an initiation into what he calls the mysteries. To practice this is a recollection, to bring this together into a unity. That is the very initiation into the mysteries, because in their pure form, remember that very loaded expression we had a moment ago? That's a very magnificent one, which I enjoy reading. So let me go back and pull it together now. for a human being must understand a general conception, this one, formed by collecting into a unity by means of reason the many perceptions of the senses. And this is a recollection of those things which our soul once beheld when it journeyed with God, and lifting its vision above the things which we now say exist, rose up into real being. Here's the great expression now. And therefore it is just that the mind of the philosopher only has wings, for he is always, as far as he is able, in communion through memory. See, you're recalling this. In communion through memory with those things, the communion with which causes God to be divine. This is the cause, in its purest form, of God being divine. Watch now, okay? Let's see whether we can have some fun. All right? As you've thought of these states of mind, could you tell me what kinds of words you use to describe that?
Meditation.
That's true. That's the process. Right? Let's hear it.
Empty.
More.
Elevated. Elevated.
Elevated. Nice. Elevated.
Brilliant, bright light.
Clear.
Penetrating everything.
Non-moving.
Absolute.
A stillness. A stillness.
Stillness. Yeah.
A stillness.
Calm and still.
More.
Peak experience.
Pardon me?
Peak experience.
Sure. Right. This is a peak experience. Negatives, right? Egoless. Because if it comes up, it diminishes this. You're quite right. Yeah, it's quite right. Right.
Effortless.
I always liked that one myself.
I do too.
One more step now already. Now, if you have some, yes, you have a couple of more favorites.
Profound silence.
A profound silence. I can sneak that in there somewhere.
Blissfulness.
All right. Now look, too many terms. Too many terms. Got to collapse them a little bit. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now we got. So we have to collect into a unity. That's what he told us to do in the text. Collect into a unity. So we have to pull these more into a unity. Being in that state, I imagine we could describe it negatively. It's not this, it's not this, it's not that, it's not this. Many, many negatives. But certainly it's intangible.
It's also unity. I mean,
Unity.
non-duality. So
No duality. No duality. No duality. Calm, stillness, non-moving, clear, brilliant, profound silence, elevated, empty. Say, how does this relate? How does this relate to one word?
It's almost a feeling of separate from the body.
Kind of a separation of the body. And therefore, you're left then with the presence of this without ego. Is that right, sir? Back row?
Yes.
All right, then we can be firm and go ahead. Now look,